Have you ever wondered what an executor cannot do? Well, stay tuned. We're going to talk about it. And be sure to watch till the end because we'll briefly talk about some of the consequences. And we're getting started right after this. Hey everybody, Kes Stadler here, Associate Broker with Atlanta Communities and your Certified Probate Real Estate Advisor and Specialist. My team and I have over 25 years of experience in residential real estate, helping family members and loved ones dealing with probate, executorships, conservatorships, wills and trusts. The list goes on and on. So we're going to get started in this video, some of the things you don't want to do as an executor. Okay, the first thing you cannot do is influence the will writer. I know that sounds kind of obvious, but you don't want to get involved with trying to manipulate the decedent when they're still alive with how to write their will, who to put in it, who to leave out, things like that. As the executor, that's really not your place or position, and you don't want to do that. You can get in big trouble. If you do try to manipulate what we call the testator, I know I don't pronounce that right, that's how I pronounce it. Anyway, you can be held liable and you can be removed as the executor if you do that. So better off just to stay clear and just simply help with the loved one with what they want in the will and help them get with attorneys or whatever needs to be done to make it, to get it written, and just stay out of trying to manipulate anything. The next thing that you don't want to do as an executor is fail to communicate with the beneficiaries. I know that may sound kind of simple, but you need to keep the beneficiaries up to date on what's going on. It's your job to keep them posted. If they have to reach out to you, as I've always said in my real estate career, if my clients have to reach out to me, I haven't done my job. The same holds true as an executor. You want to make sure you keep on top of things and you keep them involved and keep them updated. Even if you don't have any new information, you just want to make sure they're part of the situation. We always have a saying, we give you an update every Tuesday, so set it up however you want. But one of the things you don't want to do is just ignore them, because that will not end well for anyone. So make sure they stay up to date and you keep them in the loop on everything going on. Okay, another thing you don't want to do if you're the executor is go against the will. Makes perfect sense, but the will was written for a reason. Your job is to strictly follow the will and follow the decedent's wishes. So you start making things up or changing the will or trying to read into it something that's not really there, that's not going to end well for anybody, and it could get you removed from the whole process. Okay, one thing to remember is if the will is somewhat ambiguous, then either consult with the probate court or a special real estate attorney to get some guidance. I know occasionally wills can be vague or ambiguous, so just get some help with that. Don't just write it up or read into it yourself, but go ahead and follow the guidelines of professional opinions just to protect you and to protect the decedent and the beneficiaries. Something else you don't want to do is prevent a beneficiary from contesting the will. I know nobody likes conflict, especially when all this is going on, but if you have a beneficiary that really feels they need to contest the will, don't get in the way, don't stop that. Let the process work itself out. Be willing to help them and see what happens. But if you try to get in the way or tell them not to contest the will, then that can create bigger problems for everybody. Okay, this is a really big one. Do not, and I repeat, do not mishandle the decedent's assets. Your job as executor is to make sure all the bills are paid, everything is followed by the will or the probate court, and once everything is finalized, to distribute assets. So make sure you're not mishandling the assets along the way, whether it's real property, personal assets, it could be investments, it could be taxes, anything. Make sure you're handling that, whether it's a physical property or some type of intangible item, retirement accounts, the IRS, things like that. Make sure you handle it correctly. Follow the rules, follow it by the book, and make sure you're covering yourself and the decedent. One of the things I always remind people is don't be negligent. Real property needs to be maintained. So if there's a house involved or a condo or land, make sure you keep that property up. Doesn't have to look brand new, and you don't have to do any upgrades to it or improvements. But if the roof's leaking, get it fixed. If there's a water leak, fix it. Don't just ignore it. Make sure, I recommend, if it's feasible, leave all the utilities on so you can keep the air running in the property. But make sure you maintain the property. Think of it as your own, and think of it as I would say to my listing clients, you want to show it in the best light, so take good care of it. Something else is don't automatically stop payments for the decedent's house or things like that. Go ahead and keep moving forward with it as long as the funds are there, car payments, whatever it may be. Continue to make the payments until you're instructed by either the will, the probate, to do something different. But you got to keep everything up to date, because the last thing you want is to get behind on something and have a foreclosure, have a tax lien, have something wrong that's going to slow up the whole process. So make sure you keep things moving along, keep payments going, especially utilities with a house, until we get through the entire process. Something that's really big is don't forget to get a professional appraisal on real property. I'm a real estate broker. I can give you what we call a CMA, comparative market analysis. That's a good average, that's a good ballpark, but you really need a professional that is a licensed appraiser in your state, in your county, someone that knows the neighborhood, knows the property, to get a formal appraisal done. That protects you, that protects the beneficiaries, and it protects the interests of the decedent and the will itself. So make sure you get that done. If you're in Metro Atlanta, I have appraisers I can give you. You're welcome to call them. You may know someone as well, but get it done by a licensed professional. Okay, and the last thing on mishandling assets is don't just sell them for way below market value, either because you're in a hurry or you've got a friend that wants that boat or somebody that wants that car and they can't afford the price, so you cut them a break. You don't want to do that. You can get yourself in really hot water with the beneficiaries, the probate court. It could just really be a mess. So make sure you sell everything at fair market value and determine what that value is, of course, but make sure you sell it for the fair price. And communicate with the beneficiaries what that price is, make sure everybody's on board, and then you're covered. Okay, another one that's kind of obvious, but I've seen it in my many years of probate and wills and trusts, is you have an executor that steals or five-finger discounts from the estate. Big, big no-no. Even if you're an executor and a beneficiary, you don't get paid, you don't get any assets until everyone does. The five-finger discount's not going to work. Even if you feel like, well, I'm going to get that anyway, I'll just go ahead and take it. Maybe it's a family heirloom or a motorcycle that nobody else will ride. You know it's going to come to you eventually as a beneficiary, but don't take it early. Make sure you follow the process through. Do not take anything until everyone's on board and you're allowed by the courts and the probate to disperse assets. That's just a no-brainer. You got to follow the rules on that. Okay, and on that line, you as the executor, and like myself as a real estate broker and also the executor of my mom's estate, I could not sell my mom's home to myself at a discounted price. You can buy it, you can buy out the other beneficiaries, but you got to do it at fair market value. Don't do that with a car like a Corvette or whatever. You got to pay fair market value. You got to make sure everyone's on board. Always communicate, always get it in writing, and always keep the other parties in the loop, so then they can't come back later and say, well, you didn't tell me, or I didn't know you were going to buy it for that, or I would have bought that home for that price. Just do it strictly by the book and you're okay. Okay, we all know that taxes are inevitable. So do not skip paying the taxes and just think, well, the decedent's no longer with us, it'll just work out in the wash. You got to pay all the debts, all the taxes before anyone gets any money. All the utilities, everything needs to be settled for the estate before you distribute funds to the beneficiaries. This can get you in really big trouble with the IRS, and the last thing you want is to have that on your shoulders. So make sure you pay everything and don't skip any payments. That's critical. As you know, along with that, the executor is required to pay and to find all the debts and pay them as much as possible and notify the debtors of the fact that the decedent has passed and try to make it right. Don't just skip that process. Don't just try to whitewash it, because it will come back to get you at the end. It's going to take time. This whole process can take anywhere from 8 to 12 months. Depends on the amount of money involved and things like that, but it's going to take some time. You as executor will have a part-time job trying to get all this paperwork handled. So just be prepared to be in it for the long haul. Okay, and I mentioned earlier, and I said stay till the end, this will be something that you'll want to be really tuned into. The consequences of not following the rules as an executor, and they can be pretty severe. If you fail to perform your responsibilities as executor, there can be severe legal consequences. I've had it happen before. Beneficiaries can request the courts remove an executor and file legal proceedings against that person if they feel they have not been representing the estate properly, conducted things incorrectly, misconduct, or just did something really illegal. So that can happen. And as executor, as long as you follow the process and follow the rules, you should be fine. Okay, and one last thing, executors, and hopefully this never happens, but executors that steal from the estate and they get caught will have to pay that back out of their own money. Not the estate money, but out of their own money. And that can cause legal issues, and there can be ramifications long term. So, moral of the story is do the right thing, do your job, don't steal, all these don'ts I mentioned. Hopefully this was just a very broad view. If you have any questions or there's something I missed, put something in the comment section. And as always, I'm trying to grow my channel. I would love it if you would like and subscribe to my channel, and take a look at this next video coming up. We're talking about more things dealing with probate. And there's some good things that happen as well, but if you're a beneficiary, let me know if you have any questions. Executors, if you have some advice or something you want me to discuss in a future video, let me know. So for now, signing out, Kes Stadler, Associate Broker, and your Certified Probate Real Estate Advisor. I'm a specialist in this. Take care, and we'll see you on the next video.